Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. So a few weeks ago I got an Instagram message from a company called CoLight asking me if I would be willing to have a go with their new D07 Pro spotlights. I remembered watching a video a while back that GSD321 did. I'll put a link in the description to his video. Not the same lights, but you know, anyway. And he seemed really impressed with them for the money. So I said yes. Since then I've been having a play around, you know, with them. I will, you know, caveat any of my sort of opinions and thoughts by saying aside from the OEM spotlights that have been on all three of the BMWs that I've had, I don't have any other experience with aftermarket, you know, spotlights. A while back did consider the Denalis, which these are quite clearly meant to try to compete with, and more recently, because I do have quite a few, you know, at least 3 or 4 lone rider products already, I did consider the new motor lights. But if I'm honest, while they are phenomenal from what I've seen, the money side of it, I couldn't really, you know, justify it. So I was curious as to what a more wallet friendly option would be able to do. So if that sounds of any interest to you, I will put a link in the description to the lights, because there is more info and specs on there. But if that sounds of interest, stay tuned and we'll get into it a bit more. Okay, so specs wise, now I do have my laptop in front of me so I don't get off track, which I do have a habit of doing. But these lights are 4.5 inch. They have both an amber and a white, you know, light in them, which is part of the reason why they interested me. The white light is apparently 50 watts each side, with the amber being 2.5 watts, and on maximum brightness 5,500 lumens. Now that doesn't really mean a lot to you know me. I don't have enough experience in this sort of thing, so like I say, I'm not going to go too heavy into the specs, but they are IP68, you know, rated. I am going to be leaving them on the bike, and I will be doing a long-term review. I'm off to Scotland this weekend, so I'm actually filming this now on Easter Monday, and I am off to Scotland this coming weekend on the bike, and the following week as well. Knowing Scotland, it will rain, the bike will be filthy, and it'll also be getting jet washed. So I'll do a long-term review on these in a couple of months maybe, to see how they fare. But yeah, that's all of the sort of highlight specs. Let's do a quick unboxing of them, and then I'll show you how I've got them set up on the bike. Okay, so this is the box that they obviously came in, and one thing you'll notice straight away is the absence of the lights. Now, I already filmed this, you know, segment, and I thought I'd pressed record and I hadn't. So yeah, I'm an idiot, but I will show that afterwards. So in the box, if you want these to be permanently amber, you do get these little sort of, you know, I'm not sure if they're plastic or Perspex amber covers. I'm not going to use those, and there are some rubber spacers for the bar mount that you get with it, which again is already on the bike, but I will show you that shortly. But then we have the wiring. So we have a remote control, which obviously lets you, you know, switch on either the amber or the white light and change things on there. And then we have the actual wiring, you know, harness itself with the little box of, you know, sort of, you know, tricks, which that obviously goes to a permanent feed to the battery, and then you have the ability to wire it into an accessory or switch live. But you can also tap it into the what I assume would be the switched feed for the horn. So when you press the horn, it will activate the lights and they will flash. And also when you activate the, you know, high beam. Now, I nearly said no to using these lights because like a lot of modern bikes, certainly BMWs, they use what is called a CAN bus, you know, network. So it's not necessarily as straightforward as actually tapping into wires. And I didn't really want to be cutting in and actually tapping into the wires on my bike. So like I said, I very nearly said no, but then I realized that if I actually cut the wiring, I could use my hex eZcan. So that is why I've gone that route. So you obviously could, you know, wire these into any bike and take advantage of those features, but what I'm going to show you shortly is if you do have a hex eZcan, and from what I can gather, it doesn't have to be a BMW, because hex make them for other bikes. There is a far easier way to wire these in. So let's move on to how I've actually got this you know, wired into the bike. Okay, so these are the actual lights already fitted to the bike. What I might do actually now is, you know, stick up a few, you know, prettier shots of the lights installed out in the daylight. But these are how I've got them installed. So you get these, you get these, you know, sort of aluminium bar mounts for them. They do actually look very, very good quality. Looks like, you know, powder coated. And then I've basically got the wiring, when I can get the camera angle right, you know, following the back of the crash bar, and then that goes up and behind the throttle body, up under here, and eventually up under the seat, which I will show in just a moment. But yeah, those are the lights installed, and I think they look rather nice. I may at some point try to mount them here instead, but from what I can gather, when you unplug these, it causes a warning on the dash, and I think only BMW can code that out. But anyway, for now, I'm quite happy with them there. So also, just to add, to wire them in, I initially had them wired in using just some little click lock, you know, wiring blocks, and I've ended up doing them in a more permanent way. So I know some people in the comments would say I should have used a proper soldering iron. You're probably right. I don't have one, but I've used these, you know, self soldering wire connectors. I've been using them for a while and they've been absolutely fine. I have used the right gauge of I have used the right one for the gauge of wire, heat shrinking, and then some of this automotive fabric tape to make sure that it's all fine. Right, so first of all, you're probably looking at this and thinking, what the hell is that mess? Now, I will say there is extra wiring under here that is not, you know, standard. But even so, the amount of room under the seat on an R1300GS is just tight as hell. So there is extra wiring under here, which does make it look worse, but it's already pretty bad out of the factory. So we obviously have the actual eZcan here, which is what I'm obviously using. It's what I'm using to power my GPS, the extra brake light, but also I'm using both the red and the blue circuit on the eZcan, and it's wired into each of these lights. So obviously when you get the hex eZcan, you actually get these little ends. So I think you do get 4 of them in the box. So you can obviously wire it in to anything you want. So what I've done is, well, in fact, what I will do, I'll stick a wiring diagram up on the screen now. If you want to pause the video, I will put a link to it. Maybe a Google Drive link in the description. I'm not a wiring expert, so forgive the crudeness of the actual, drawing. But what I've basically done is the amber wires of these lights is obviously for the amber light, and the red wire is for the white lights. So what I've done is I've got the red circuit for the eZcan, which is for the white light. So both of the red wires for these lights are joined and are obviously going into the circuit, and both of the amber lights, both of the amber wires for these lights, they're going into the blue circuit, and then everything has a shared negative. Okay, so that really takes care of the actual wiring of it. The magic, as it were, that happens with my laptop and this the hex eZcan, because with that, on bikes like this, is what really helps you to actually get the best out of these lights. Okay, so I've now got my laptop hooked up to the hex eZcan. What I'm going to do is to save you from having to watch me try to hold the camera straight and film what's on the screen, I'm going to switch over to a screen recording, and then as I mention each part, I did take some footage to illustrate each of the configuration options. So through the power of editing, I'm going to try to put that at the side of the screen recording of the hex eZcan software now. So assuming that I have done that right, so what we have is, so inside the hex eZcan, as I mentioned, the red circuit is for the white, LEDs. Now, during the day, I have these, off. At night, they're on 10% brightness. I don't really need them any more than that. But more importantly, they are only on when the engine's running, because obviously I don't want them to drain the battery, which on this bike is a lithium battery. So I also have the option, which hopefully you're about to see on the screen, is they will strobe if I press the horn. Now there is a strobe on flash to pass, which means if I pull the full beam option on the lights on the actual bike, if I actually press that 3 times in quick succession, it will strobe the lights. I don't really use that, so I've not switched that option on. But for the full beam, whether it's day or night, they are on full brightness if I activate the full beam using the controls on the bike. So I obviously get the bike's headlight on full beam plus these D07 Pros. Those are the only options that I have switched on for the white lights. So the blue circuit, that is for the amber light. So for that, it is completely off at night because I don't need it, or I don't need or want it on at night. So when I flash the full beam, you know, nothing happens, and they're not on all of the time. During the day, they're on low, on 10. Now, one thing I will, mention is my bike has a light sensor built into the dashboard. So the Hex eZcan software, because this is actually linked into the bike's brain, it knows when the bike is in day and night mode. So that will automatically switch over. So that is not a feature of the lights themselves. That's the Hex eZcan reading that out of the bike itself. So I also only have these on when the engine's running, but because they're amber lights and during the day it can cause some confusion, when I activate either the left or right, indicators on the bike, or the turn signals as they're also called, the amber light, these amber spotlights, they switch off completely until I cancel the indicators. And then if I put the hazard lights on, they will activate alternating as well, just to make me a little bit more visible. Now this does obviously take 2 of the 4 circuits on the Hex eZcan. Now one thing I could have done, had I had a 3rd spare channel, is I could have wired this up slightly differently, and I could have had the amber light being controlled separately for each light. So I could have added the functionality that I could have used the amber light in these as an extra indicator or turn signal. I don't have a spare 3rd channel, but that is an option that you could use. Now it's obviously important to mention that having a Hex eZcan on your bike is not a requirement to have these lights. But if you've watched well, I would say specifically a Bike Things videos, you will know how flexible they are. And as you will have seen, hopefully from what I've showcased here, they give incredible flexibility. I'm not sponsored by Hex, but I think I was considering buying one for years, and I got one for Christmas. This last one, and I wish I'd bought one sooner. So, I suppose a bit of a shout out to a Bike Thing there. But yeah, on these CAN bus, bikes, it does make wiring in extra lights like the D07 Pros that I have here much easier. But like I say, this is not a requirement, it's just a nice to have. Now, one other feature that I wanted to just very quickly mention is, as part of the extra settings in here, I can use the vehicle's indicator cancel button to alter the settings for these lights on the fly. So specifically, if I long press the indicator cancel button, it will switch off the red circuit completely. So I get no white LEDs, at all, even if I pull the, full beam, button. And for the amber lights or the blue circuit, if I triple press the indicator cancel button, it switches that circuit off completely. So you don't need any extra switches or anything like that. Because the Hex eZcan is wired into the bike, it knows, and you can you can have that flexibility. So I suppose the burning, the burning question is, would I, recommend these lights? Obviously, it would be nice if I had previously had the Denalis or the Lone Riders, and then I could do a comparison like I've done with a lot of these Apple CarPlay units. I've had the more expensive ones, and I've also had the more budget, friendly ones, and I like to be able to call out the pros and cons. However, I don't have £600, I think, roughly, to buy the Lone Riders and install those just to be able to say that. So I'm just going to say, am I happy with these lights? Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some footage up, now of me riding with just the bike's light and the full beam from just the bike's, headlight, versus the bike's headlight plus these at night. Because really, I think the amber LEDs during the day, etc., that's all great, but really the power of these is if I'm riding at night, and there are a lot of country lanes around where I live, will they light up the road and enable me to see? So like I say, the footage you're watching now is obviously a comparison of that. My experience so far, with these, they were very easy to fit. I'm no wiring expert. They seem very good, quality. All the fixings, they don't seem cheap and nasty. Like I said, I will do a long-term review once I've ridden in the rain with them and I've washed the bike, etc, etc. But so far, I think for the money, I think on the website at the moment they're about £120 in the UK. I'm very happy with them. As you will see from the footage, well, I say as you will see, trying to capture nighttime footage and really give an impression of what the human eye sees is very difficult. But all I will say is at night on full beam on a dimly lit road, these are just exceptional. The amount of light, it doesn't cast too far and wide. The whole road is practically daylight. So I'm very happy with them. Build quality seems, great. If I had one bit of feedback for CoLight, it would be that the wiring, harness is quite stiff. I have no reason to suspect there's going to be any sort of long-term, quality issues, but a more flexible, maybe, braided wire would be easier to route and bend around things. So that's, I don't want to call it a negative, but that's one bit of feedback that I would have. But yeah, there is a link in the description, and I think they've also given me a 15% off, code, which I think brings them to like about, my maths is not too great right now, but either if you're sort of in the £100 range. But yeah, like I say, there's a link in the description if you want to check them out. If not, that's fine. Also, I'm going to keep repeating this on every video. If you'd like to follow me over on Instagram, it's at the stammering biker. I could do with a few more followers on there, please, if you wouldn't mind. And as always, if you like this, please give it a thumbs up. And yeah, I'm going to try to vlog my next two. Like I say, I'm off on 2 road trips this weekend and the following one to Scotland. I'm going up to Fort William. Not sure where I'm going the one after that. I'll try to vlog it. If you have any comments about what you would like or not like in a motorcycle, travel vlog, please stick it in the comments. I'm not really used to videoing my trips, partly because of my stammer, and all this is sort of new. So while I'm used to videoing rides. I'm not really used to, I'm not really that familiar with the whole, you know, vlogging everything and the whole sort of commentating on it. So if you have any comments, have any suggestions, like I say, I am gonna video it, and you will probably have to listen to me rambling on in my helmet. But anyway, enough of me waffling on. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks to CoLight for sending me these, and also being incredibly patient while I, you know, faffed around configuring them and testing them. And yeah, I will catch you in the next video, which hopefully won't be a product review. It'll actually be a motovlog video.